But welcome to folks who are here joining us live and to folks who are watching the recording. I think we're going to have more folks jumping in and joining us. So excited to be here for our third of four in this sprint. Um, we are going to be moving into a much more tactical execution approach. The two in 2025 were really intended to be reflective and generative, to give you some things to help prompt your own reflection and to generate ideas and insights. And I hope you were able to find some time to do that because now we're going to move into strategy and execution, right? And how to put some of that into practice. And if you've had time to be generative and reflective, hopefully that then gives you some things. These are the things I want to make happen about my content, my way. And today and our next one, we're going to talk about how you can make that happen and putting that into practice. I'm not going to be very prescriptive. I think there's dozens and dozens and dozens of right ways to do this. I'm going to offer you some things that I think are good, that have worked for me, that have worked for others, that other people have suggested to me. And I hope that it will be generative and you'll come up with your own thoughts and your own ideas. So hopefully some of the things I offer will be helpful, but it'll also help you generate some of your own thoughts and your own ideas as we go. For folks who aren't familiar, I think you all are. My name is Keith Edwards. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a speaker, author, and coach. I work on empowering better tomorrows for us all through leadership, learning, and equity, primarily working with higher ed, but also beyond that. Just a reminder of our succinct elevator speech. Uh, One of the hardest things about the transition away from a campus-based role is having to do introductions. When you have a campus-based role, you just say, my name's Keith Edwards, my pronouns are he, him, his. I'm the director of campus life at Macalester College. So easy. It's written for you. When you don't have that campus-based role, you have to go, hi, I'm Keith. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm free and unsupervised. How are you all? That's not great. So having a real good line that you can do, and even if you do still have a campus-based role, there might be some places where that's not what you're there representing, and you want to sort of share some of the other things that you're doing. I also want to remind you of the frames that we have. We started before the recording, talk about the context here in Minneapolis, where I am coming to you from. Always begin with a land acknowledgement. We're also at the intersections of the original and ancestral homelands of both the Dakota and the Ojibwe peoples. And one of the things that's been really great is watching some of those communities who have wrestled with things like this longer than most of us have had to wrestle with them, step into leadership roles and modeling ways of going ahead and engaging with what we're navigating here. Um, Also, to bring your beginner's mind, fresh perspective. You might have had some stories about right ways to do this from other folks. Some of them may align, some of them may not. So we'd love for you to bring that beginner's mind and to be brave, to share what you're doing, share how you're doing it. We've got a nice little community here of super supportive folks. We're not here to compete with each other. As the world reminds us all the time, there is plenty of opportunity for work in so many different places. And so, how do we be supportive of each other? It's been so fun for me to see some of you with little announcements here and there on LinkedIn or Instagram or things to be excited about that and sharing that. So, share what you're doing, share what you're thinking, even if you're not sure, even if you're just ideating. And give us all the gift of your presence. We have a bit of time this Friday afternoon to be present with us here. Set that phone aside, give us your full attention. It is a real luxury to be able to do that. And then also remember the confidentiality. People are sharing things in these conversations that they are maybe not sharing publicly or not yet sharing with the world, but are sharing here, which is wonderful. But let's let the learning leave here and the stories stay here. So those are some of the expectations. Yeah. For folks who have jumped in and joined us since we officially started, welcome. So glad you're here. I want to do a quick overview of where we're at. We're in this third session of a four-session sprint. Before even all of that, we had the overview workshop, which really focused on your why, your purpose. Why are you doing this? And then we had the content session helping you generate what is my content? What are the ideas I want to share with the world? What is the things, the processes, the frameworks that I want to share with the world? And then your way. What is your way of being? Do you want to lead small workshops? Do you want to keynote on big stages? Do you want to coach one-on-one? There's so many different ways. Find the ones that fuel your energy rather than deplete it. And you might find as you go that things you think fuel your energy actually deplete it. And so just notice that and pay attention. And you might find things that you think deplete your energy actually get you charged up. Um, I think the best tell of that energy is when you're done, right? I think I mentioned to you all, I have keynoted a lot. And every time, about 30 seconds before I have to go on stage, the only thought running through my mind is, how do I get out of this? Is there a fire alarm I can pull? What if no one shows up? Can we just cancel this? How do I get out of this? And so if you feel that way, same, me too. Um, but what's the energy after? After a keynote, I am depleted physically, super pumped mentally and emotionally. It really takes a ton out of me physically. Uh, After a coaching session, I am charged up mentally, emotionally, and physically. I am, it's like being brought back to life. So just notice those things. Today, we're going to start phase two. We're going to focus on the launch. I'm going to tell you how to plan your launch. We'll walk through some ways. We'll have you begin to ideate some of that. And our next session, which will be our final one of the sprint on January 23rd, we're going to talk about how to run your business and how to do that so simply and so easily. So you can do it right, so you can do it ethically, so you can do it competently in as little time as you possibly can. So your focus is on generating content, delivering your keynotes, coaching your clients, leading your workshops, and then managing the business. And I like to think about it. How do we take that business management, set up systems and structures so you can do it really well, and then just keep squeezing the amount of time in a week or a month that it takes down as little as possible. I'm a big fan in that realm of what can I set and forget so I don't have to keep thinking about it, keep remembering to do it. So we'll talk through some of that. I did want to mention that after this sprint concludes on January 23rd, there's two more ways you can continue to engage, and those are only available to people who are participating in the sprint. So we're not going to see new faces jumping in and joining here. One is the runway. So after January 23rd, we're going to move to group coaching. This is more content delivery, a workshop. That's going to move to group coaching. And in each month, in February, March, April, and May, each month we're going to have a 90-minute session. And each of those months is going to follow. We're going to do the content coaching around your content. We're going to do some group coaching around that in February. Then we're going to do around your way. We're going to do that in March. And then the launch and planning that in April, and then the business will focus on in May. And the idea is if you were planning a June, July transition, this would set you up really nicely to execute that. And so the runway is going to be very application, not talking about it, but doing it, right? And walking through together as a cohort of folks. Some of you have already signed up for that. That's really great. If you want to sign up for that, you can do that. Then there's also the option of doing the runway with coaching, and that would mean you get 30 minutes one-on-one with me each of those months along the way to really help you execute that plan. I'm going to drop some links to those if people want to sign up for that here in the chat. You can go ahead and do that. If you have any questions about that, we'll maybe have some time at the end today to talk through that. You can always email me and we can find a time to connect, right? So if you want to do that, that's that. Let's pause there and connect with some folks. Love to hear from some of you about the reflections around your content and your way and what you're starting to generate. What insights, what reveals, what ahas. Sometimes it's not a new learning, but it's a learning we've had before that we're returning to. Learning is relearning. So let's just hear from some of you as you engaged in the sessions, either with us live or maybe watched them or listened to them or journaled or went on a walk to those beautiful pine trees behind Francie that don't really exist. I'd love to hear from some of you. What insights are you having into your content or your way? Let's just keep it focused on the content and way, just to kind of recall and review, and also to get some other voices in here. And folks can use the unmute button. That's totally works. And you can also use the raise your hand feature under the react button down below.
So I think for me,
First,
one of the
just tell us a little bit about who you are.
oh, sorry, yeah. My name is Erin Long, and I am at the University of Texas at Austin, working in volunteerism and service learning currently. And Hillary and I actually decided to have like a phone call conversation as I was driving through West Virginia for whatever reason. And just like kind of talking through like what we've learned and like inspirations that we've had from these conversations. And one of the things that came up that I hadn't really thought too deeply about until we were talking is like how much I like the one-on-one coaching
Mhm.
aspect. And just like being able to talk through someone and help them figure out kind of what their own path is. And so that was, I think, an exciting moment for me. And Hillary was very kind to be affirmative and say very nice things about it. But yeah, I think that was, I think like it was kind of like getting to do it as I was like discovering that I liked
Mhm.
to do it was really,
Yeah.
it was a nice experience for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for some of us, it's helpful for me to walk. I have so many thoughts when I'm walking, um, or active in some way, or in nature. Others when they're journaling. Others when we're having a conversation with someone else, right? Sometimes that's when ideas pop. So find what works for you. Let me just say a little bit about coaching. So coaching, I have a coaching certification, and and it was great, and I got so much out of it, and I recommend it. Um, but you can call yourself a coach without doing any of that. There's zero barrier to anyone saying, "Hey, I'm a coach and I do coaching." Now, there's some downsides to that, and there's some upsides to that. So any of you can call yourself a coach. Um, if you're really serious about it, I would recommend looking into a program where you learned about it. I got a ton out of that experience. Happy to talk with any of you about that. Um, if coaching is great as a side hustle, it is a great side hustle. I know almost no one who makes full-time money coaching. The only people I know who make full-time money coaching are people who are training coaches and coaching, right? So they have that. But it is an awesome supplement. You can easily coach 3 or 4 people a week on top of a full-time job, beautiful connections. It's a great retirement gig. I know several student affairs professionals who have retired and got bored and antsy and started coaching people. It's a great kind of to coach 4 or 5 people a week. It's fantastic. You build those relationships and connections. If you're coaching around something in particular, right? There's life coaching where you don't really bring any expertise. You're sort of being a partner through the journey. But there's also coaching around, I have some expertise around A, B, and C, and I'd like to coach you through that. Coaching is a great way to develop your intellectual property and your content. Because, Aaron, if you were coaching me about A, B, and C, through those conversations, you would find yourself saying things like, that's a keynote workshop all by itself. Oh, that's a great line. That should be a slide in my workshop. That would make a great newsletter. It's beautiful for that kind of content generation. So if you are sort of developing your content and working on building it, finding some folks you can coach is a great way to do that. Um, if you're doing it full time, it's just really hard to make a full-time gig money doing coaching. But like me, I do coaching, I do workshops, I do keynoting, and it's a really lovely part of that. It is where I get my intimate connection. It's where if you supervise people, you meet with them every other week, right? You have that bond and that connection. There's people who you're in an office next door to. I don't have that. My coaching clients, I get to know them deeply, personally, and I just love that. So coaching is great for content generation, intellectual property development. It's awesome for that. It's a great supplement. Hard to do as your singular full-time kind of thing. I see your learning partner, Hillary Lichterman, has raised her hand. I love that the two of you have done this self-organized learning community. But Hillary, go ahead. What are you generating through your reflections?
Yes. I apologize. I have to have my camera off today. I have a pretty nasty cold. Trust me, you'd rather hear me than see me.
Sounds pretty
But
husky.
yes,
Sounds pretty
yeah,
husky.
pretty bad, pretty bad. But yeah, so I really appreciated that. And one of the big takeaways from the conversation with Erin, we've known each other for a very long time. Keith, this won't surprise you. I think I'm
Mhm.
meeting many of you, is just pick one thing. I'm a type of person where like, oh, I could do this. I could teach a class on this. I could keynote. I can do that. I could do this. Like the last session of, whittling down what don't you want to do that's hard because I'm still interested in a lot. So, Erin, I've been hearing your voice quite a bit of like, just pick something. So the one thing I'm committed to that I want to have you all hold me accountable to is I'm almost done developing a website.
Mhm.
And in that, it's helping me also through this process. And I'm focused on the content. A really good friend who does like the graphic stuff, he has done the actual website so that I can think and focus. So I
Mhm.
don't know, just trying to commit to that, like pick something and go with it. And then when it's no longer fun or giving energy, then let it go and go on to another thing
Mhm.
on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's why I think one of my prompts is if you were to focus on one thing for the next year, what would that be? Because if I say, what's the next thing you want to focus on for the rest of your career, that's overwhelming. And even if I don't say that, you maybe intuit that in, and then it's overwhelming and too much pressure. And oh my gosh, I don't want to close off this possibility. Just the next year. And it might change after that. You might be 6 months in and decide to change it. So you don't have to commit to things forever. Um, so yeah, being generative and doing that. I think there comes a time in most people's career journeys where we shift from thinking, what can I do, to what do I want to do? And you're probably all at or beyond that place, right? There's a time where you think, what job can I get? What career can I do? What role can I be successful in? And there's nothing wrong with that thinking. That's how many of us started our careers and continue in our careers. There comes a time, though, and Hillary, you're a great example of this, where we can do all sorts of things, and maybe we can do almost anything. We're just that capable, that adaptable, that competent. Hillary, I believe you could do just about anything. So, what can I do is no longer a very good question. What do I want to do has to be the question. And that means we have to close off some things that we could absolutely do. I'm perfectly capable. I could pull that off and go, but that's not where I want to spend my time, energy, and effort and the precious life that we have. So, yeah, how do you shift from what do I can do to what do I want to do? That's a big thing. And that's where we start closing some things off. Chris Sachs, let's get you in here. Go ahead.
So I was just gonna say, Hillary, I totally understand. I want to do it all, can't do it all. So I've really been trying to focus, 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 focus in the last month. But the thing that I've tried doing intentionally, in the last week or so since the winter break, and now we're back into it, is to focus on LinkedIn posts, which are more than simply commenting on something somebody else posted
Mhm.
and not a bulletin board like, hey, I'm doing this, but taking an article or a report that is not necessarily higher ed and applying it to higher ed with a
Mhm.
focus on continuous quality improvement.
Mhm.
And at first I'm like, I don't know, does anybody want to read this? It's gonna sound stupid from my perspective. But I was pretty surprised at the first two I tried that with and the amount of traction
Mhm.
that it got, compared to a lot of the posts I've been doing in the last couple of months. So that's what I've been trying.
Yeah,
Um,
great.
I
Is
I tried I
continuous
tried
quality
one where
improvement where you're putting your focus? Is that going to be your
I
thing?
think so.
Yeah.
I think so. But and then the other thing is like it's just in the last 2 days, there's something that's not quite there, but there's a shape forming in my head. It's like, so what does continuous quality improvement include?
Hmm.
And that's all those things that I can do and
Hmm.
have done and like to do.
Yeah.
Assessment, accreditation, strategic planning. It's that more operational stuff. So
Yeah.
continuous quality improvement is the umbrella, but what really nests under there? So
Yeah.
it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of thoughts come to mind. Um, do you have your own version of continuous quality improvement that is yours? That maybe
So
that's
that
someone else's language, but what I
yeah.
call it is this, and that includes, I don't know what that might be. I think if you have that, and you define it
Yeah.
as this, it's very similar, right? That
Yeah.
continuous quality improvement, we continue to give attribution generously, but let's not be afraid to claim our own
Hmm.
version of that, our own take, our unique thing, what's in that umbrella. And then around the social media, I mean, you could just sit and write bullets of the thing people misunderstand about continuous quality improvement, the thing people don't get, the thing people get wrong, the thing people don't include that they should, the thing that, right? These are all
Hmm.
great social media posts. Um, yeah, and bringing in
Great.
non-higher ed things into the higher ed realm is awesome.
Thank you for those tips, and you certainly get attribution for them when I steal
Yeah,
those.
no, no, take them and
Uh,
run with them. But yeah, that could be
um,
a fun thing to do is find some prompts. This is actually a great use of AI. I know some people may be into that or may not, but like I want to talk about continuous improvement. I want to write, give me the sentence stems for 30
mm,
possible topics that are 3 to 4 words, and then I'll finish
suggestions.
them.
Okay.
Right? And that's a
Okay.
great thing that AI, and then and you'll look at some of them and be like, no, no, oh, yeah, I got a ton to say about that. And some of the sentence stems on a particular topic can generate your thinking. And that's where AI can be really helpful is giving you some generic, unthoughtful prompts that generate a lot of your good thinking.
That's great. Thank you, Keith. I
Yeah,
really appreciate the
awesome.
feedback.
All right, one more, Benny. How are you doing, Benny?
I'm good. I just had a question
Yeah,
going off of that.
yeah.
Like, do you think the same thing for like I'm way more keynote workshop.
Hmm.
Best to do a keynote and then let's do a workshop after.
Yeah.
Um, and for like LinkedIn posts, do you think like same thing, like talking about something and then here's my perspective and here's how I build it into a keynote, like those types of LinkedIn
Yeah,
posts or because I've been
absolutely.
debating about that too, about LinkedIn posts.
Absolutely. And I think you want to just go into your social media generous and giving stuff away. And then a lot of workshop and keynote people will be like, hey, here's me on stage. Hey, here's me on another stage. Hey, here. And you just go, okay, I get it. You're on a bunch of stages. That's interesting. And that can be like 20% of your posts because it's cool to see you on stage. I would love to see
Mhm.
that. But I also want to be like, what most people don't get about belonging is
Mhm.
the indigenous take on belonging is
Mhm.
the way I hear when I do workshops with youth versus adults is the different take on belonging they have is da 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 da.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a great way to do because I'm interested in your take on belonging. I'm interested in what you're learning. And if you're mentioning I got this in this workshop, or I was just with a bunch of veterinarians talking about belonging, and boy, what it really made me think was da 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 da. Okay, that's really interesting. Um, and so like next week I'm going I'll be at UC Irvine doing some curricular approach work and it's going to create my next newsletter. I have no idea what my next newsletter is going to be, but I'll be in the room for 2 days and the whole time I'm thinking what's my next newsletter? What's my next newsletter? And I'll write the newsletter about that and I'll do a video about that and maybe there'll be a video with UC Irvine sign in the background. I don't know if I can pull that off. But yeah, and again, generate a list of prompts around belonging. And then you fill them in with your experience, your expertise, your wisdom, your insight, all of that stuff. Does that make
Perfect.
sense, Benny?
That makes perfect sense. Thank you for
Are
that.
you excited to do that?
I'm pumped. I've already got a few contracts out there. I'm ready to keep on rolling.
Good, good. So you got some contracts out there. This is maybe a good way. You are someone who jumped the gun. Good for you. And you sent an email, which is a big part of what I'm going to talk about in the launch, to some of your friends and said, "Hey, I'm leaving. It's scary. Please hire me." Uh, and you've gotten some results.
Yeah, I actually sent an email for about 45 to 50 people, and I've met with, or at least have meetings set up for at least 30 of them.
Oh my goodness.
Or just at least conversations, or let me
Yep.
connect you with this person, or let's start this. So I'm I've decided to, I haven't left my full-time job yet. I'm waiting, I think, until April to leave and then be gone by the end of the school year
Yeah.
is my hope, as
Yeah.
long as I get enough contracts. But
Yeah.
it's building, and now it's just, I'm in that stage of almost like it's getting, I can feel the building blocks, but like, and I'm being impatient, and I just want to like give my notice now and
Yeah.
and jump
Yeah.
the gun, and I just need to be patient.
Yeah. Well, first, let's remember that Benny has not made any announcements and hasn't listed his job, so let's not spill the beans. All right, let's keep that here amongst this group. Um, but I think that's the kind of launch strategy, right? April announcement, end of year. You've got this time to do this launch, to do it excellently. You send an email out to colleagues, which is one of the key suggestions I'm about to make in launch. And you had more success than I think any of us should expect. Right? To email 45, 50 people and that generate 30 conversations is amazing. And if your success rate is terrible and it only leads to 5 paid gigs, fantastic, right? And if it leads to 5 paid gigs in this year and a couple that don't plant the seeds and do a thing and they don't hire you for a year or two, you plan to keep doing this in a year or two, right? So
Yeah.
it's not an immediate thing. We're kind of gardeners here. Some of these things
Right.
we're going to plant and harvest. Some of these things we're going to plant, wait till a little bit longer.
Yeah, I'm excited. I got 5 contracts so far out of that email,
So,
so I'm
uh,
moving.
all right. Temper expectations, everybody. Benny's smashing it. This is great. You see it's possible. This is awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for jumping in and joining here. Um, I want to encourage you to keep thinking about your elevator pitch. Um, Many of us were gathering with folks for many different holidays. And I certainly know that I got asked, "How's work going?" And my answer was terrible every time. And so I actually sat down and wrote out, when people say, "How's work going?" What do I want to say? Because what I said was, higher ed's tough. We're being attacked on all sides. It's tough for people to find dollars and things like that. And I just sort of gave a sort of more nuanced version of, it's hard and I'm busy. And that's not the message I want to send. So I wrote down and mapped out a response, which just as a model. So Benny, you're still on my screen. So Benny, just unmute and ask me, how's work going, Keith?
Yeah, how's work going? What's going on?
It's really exciting. I work primarily with higher ed folks, and it's a really challenging time for them. But I love working with folks who are dealing with really challenging times. And as difficult as it is in higher education, that's where I love to be helpful. And so it's given me a chance to really be helpful for folks around curricular approach, where folks are really able to be more focused about what they're doing in better ways around this leadership. We're launching this Evolve Institute. It's so affirming to see, to be able to help folks who are senior leaders just in impossible situations and to be able to be with them on their journey to support them and see them move from surviving to thriving. I just love it and can't wait to do any more of it. You see how that's so much better than, oh, it's hard and I'm busy. But I had to sit down and figure that out, right? So there's the elevator pitch about what is it that you do. There's the elevator pitch about how's work going. A little bit of thought can really be helpful. Awesome. See so many of you picking up pens. Yeah, write your own. Write your own. That's great. I think what I want to do is I want to move into talking about our focus for today, which is the launch. Are folks ready to do that? Anybody want to get in any comments or questions before we jump into the launch? Well, let's drop this resource. Let's do it. Let's go ahead. Let's get into the launch. Drop that resource in the chat. That is your handout. It includes all the handouts that we have had. Just a reminder, the sprint, the runway, and the coaching coming up. We did the year why and the overview workshop, which was available to everyone, still out there and available. You can go back to that. We did the content, and we've talked about some of that and the way. And today we're going to talk about your launch. Okay, so we've got 10 suggestions. I'm going to walk through them. I'm going to be a little specific about them because a lot of the ways these are really going to pay off for you is not in the big idea, but in the nuance of how you execute, right? I'm going to walk through these and then I'm going to tell you how I did my launch as sort of a live living example. And then we'll probably have you jump into some groups and talk with each other. As I do this, I'd like you to think, again, don't take my notes because you have them, right? You get to keep this. But take your notes. What am I thinking? What do I want to do? I might be offering one of these things and you go, I've already done that. Or that's just not something I want to do. That doesn't fit for me. If that's is your approach, I just bring the beginner's mind, figure that out later. Maybe just play with the possibility of it. Some of you have already done that. I already, like Benny said, I already sent that email. You can't send that email a whole bunch of times. You really can't send it more than once. You get one shot at it. So if you've already done that, um, move on to some other things. And I hope that some of you are going to get these 10 things for me, but I hope you generate 13, 14, 15 things for your launch. So you add to this list on your own as we go. All right. So I'm just going to walk through this and then we'll engage with it a little bit. So in the launch, the number one thing is get a domain in your name. Don't get a domain in continuous quality improvement. Don't get a domain in curiosity. That may be your jam and what you're 100% into now. And I love that for you. But in 8 years, you might have moved on to call it something different, or you might have moved on from curiosity, which Hillary's very focused on now, to cultures of learning. And you don't want to have to get a whole nother domain and a whole nother thing. The other thing you don't want to do is create a company. Vernon Wall has Vernon Wall. We all know Vernon. And then he has One Better World. Well, which is he promoting? I love One Better World. I love Vernon. But what goes on the slide? Vernon Wall or One Better World? And you just don't want to have two things that you're pushing. So get it in your name. Some version of your name. Some of you have unique names. That should be easy. Some of you don't. So put doctor at the front of it. Maybe aaronlong.com is taken, but Dr. Aaron Long is not taken, or a middle initial or something. And what you want is something that you can say into a microphone and people will be like, I got it, right? So my domain, I was able to get keithedwards.com. I had to pay for it. Someone bought it, parked it, and had some porn on it or something. So I had to pay like $250, which at the time was a lot of money. I never regret that choice. I never regret I had keithedwards.net and keithedwards.us and some other things previously, but having keithedwards.com is great. If I wasn't able to get keithedwards.com, I would get my Twitter and some other things are Keith E. PhD. So that's what I would get now. I'd get KeithEPhD.com, which is probably nobody has. So some version of your name. It can be any sort of, but your name. Build your own webpage or website or hire someone to do it. You may have plenty of resources to hire someone to create an incredible website. If you do, I would be happy to refer you to Kristen Atkins, who did my version of my website. I think my website is amazing. I get zero credit for that. I look like $1 million speaker if you look at my website. I look like my website is way better than I am. And Kristen made it there. So if you're super serious about a website, I've referred many people to her. She's fantastic and it will be great. I'll also give you another example, which is our Evolve Institute page. So this is that page. Now, I paid Kristen about $5,000 to do my website. 100% worth it in my mind. Some of you you might just be flabbergasted that anyone would spend that much on a website. But for me, it's like my storefront. It's my place of business. And I love it. Super proud of it. Then this Evolve Institute, which is a thing I'm really focused on now with Brian Arau and Christy Clemens. That's just a Squarespace site. There's no designer behind it. Dawn, who probably has as much technological skill as any of you on this call. Put that together in not a lot of time. You see, it's an image. We paid a former student of Don's like $1,000 to do some branding for us. And we've just used that and we're just going forward with it. So it's, you see, that's not a very complicated website, but it looks pretty profesh. And so there's a lot of different ways you can do websites, right? So get something in your name, do a website, get something. You can see Evolve, it's really just 2 pages. It's the main page and our offerings page, but you don't need 17 pages. In fact, a lot of people would suggest that your web page should just be 1 page that you just scroll through, that just regularly says, reach out to be in touch. Let's schedule a meeting. I'd love to connect with you, right? We can come back to any of this. Number 2, get a professional photographer or a friend who likes to take pictures and find a time and a place and bring 3 to 4 outfits and get 100 shots. It's going to take you 3 or 4 hours. If you're like me, it's incredibly uncomfortable and you realize you don't know how to smile. And you can do that. Erica Thompson, who's a friend and colleague and works at St. Thomas, she has taken all of my headshots for probably like the past 6 years. She's done like 4 or 5 different iterations of them. She's not a professional photographer. She's got a pretty good camera. She likes to do it. I think last time I paid her $200, so it's a steal. Frankly, I think she's tickled that I give her credit for it. So that's great. But multiple outfits in different places. I try and get a lot outdoors because the outside and nature is kind of part of my brand and my way that may or may not fit with you. The person I'm always modeling is Josie Alquist. I think many of you know Josie, but if not, just go to her socials, go to her webpage, and you'll see she's got a ton of different outfits, different moods, different expressions. There's surprised her, there's serious her, there's scholarly her, there's funny and playful, there's embarrassed. Like she's got the whole spectrum of it. And so when the last time I was working with Eric, I was like, here's what Josie does. I want a bunch of stuff like that, but me, and do that. Number 3, think about your strategy for sharing your content with the world. Do you want to have a blog? Do you want to have a newsletter? Do you want to have a LinkedIn newsletter that people can subscribe to? Do you want to have a Substack, MailChimp, MailerLite, LinkedIn? These are all great places to start. But look into them a bit and make a choice. Make a choice. I'll talk in a little bit about some of my choices that I've made and what I would do, and we can sort of go through those. But I think Substack, MailChimp, MailerLite, LinkedIn, these are all good choices for how you want to share, or your own blog on your site. Think about what social media you want to use and how you want to use it. I think when we get started, we just want to splatter all over our social media what we're doing. I would encourage you to be a little bit more strategic about that. What social media do you want to use for personal and professional? So for me, where do I want to share that my youngest broke her collarbone? And where do I want to share about my next speaking engagement? Now, there are some places where I might share both of those things and some places where I don't. So for me, LinkedIn is my primary one professionally. I also use Instagram professionally. You will not find my children on my Instagram. It is open, it is public, it is professional, and sometimes friends in the neighborhood follow me there and like, I want to see pictures of the kids from the trip. I'm like, the kids' pictures don't go on here. I do sexual violence prevention. I don't want anybody who doesn't like that knowing where my kids are and what they look like, right? So it's very strategic that is very not personal, right? Now, some of you might be doing topics that you're not worried about that at all, and that's fine. I used to have a Facebook profile, which I use personally, and I used to have a Facebook page, which was professionally. Then Facebook changed the algorithm, and it was literally like showing my post on that page to no one but maybe Suzanne. Like that was it. I had 900 followers, people who intentionally like that page, and I was getting like 20 people who would even see it, not like it or engage in any way, but just would see it. So have a strategy around that. Number 5, create your content and start offering it. Start submitting proposals to conferences. Start saying to friends like, hey, I know you've got a nonprofit and you do an annual staff retreat. I'd love to do a 3-hour workshop for your staff retreat around curiosity, around continuous quality improvement, around whatever. And if they go, that's just not a right fit for us, go, great, maybe some other time, right? No's are great answers. We love no's. No's mean we offered and someone declined. That is awesome. I won't keep bugging you. Yeses are also great answers. Less great answers are people who go, well, we'll think about it and get back to you. And the worst one is you don't get any answer at all because you never made the offer, right? So make offers, put it out there. Start doing it on your own campus for free. Offer to do that workshop for your student leadership conference, right? Just find places where you can do it. And the way I want you to think about those is like a stand-up comedian, but not like the big Netflix special. I want you to think about like the bar at 12:30 a.m. where there's 17 drunk people in the room. Like that's what we're doing. This is workshopping, it's improving, it's getting feedback, it's finding what lands and what doesn't, what hits, what do you like, what do you not. We're workshopping our content to get it out there, to do it, and then make it better. So that when we do get a keynote at a regional conference or some other version of your Netflix special, you are prepared, you have whittled it out, and you are giving them the best of what you got in that moment. But right now, just present your thing, present your keynote, present your workshop, however you can, wherever you can. Using your own campus is really great. I wouldn't do it for free. I do things on my own campus for free because I feel like they're paying me, and that's kind of the deal. But if I were to do it somewhere else, I would always give them when you are free and clear of a full-time job, if that's your aspiration, what you would charge. If your family depended on your income, what would you charge? And then if you really want to do it and you'll do it for less, just keep that. So if Chris Sachs has a nonprofit and I say, Chris, I would love to do this keynote on organizational becoming for your team. And Chris says, I think that would be great. What do you charge? Say, I charge locally, since this is local, it's $3,000 for a half-day workshop. But I want to make sure that money isn't the obstacle to us making that happen. Which is me saying, make me an offer, right? If you want to keep to that 3,000, then say it's 3,000 for a half day. And if Chris says, I don't really have that, I go, that's fine. When you do, love to connect with you. But you might be willing to do it for 500. You might be willing to do it for 50. You might be willing to do it for free. And so just tell them you're 3,000, and then depending on what you're willing to do, couch that however you want. What you don't want to do is have your family's livelihood depending on it, and then say it's 3,000. But I don't want to make sure that money's not an obstacle, right? I would do lots of things here in the Twin Cities for a lot less than my usual fee. But I always tell them what the usual fee is. And then if I do it for a lot less, then when it's time for a testimonial, they're very generous with the testimonial. They're very grateful to have me there. They treat me better than they do other keynote speakers because they know I charge 3,000, but I'm only doing it for 500 because you're the local Habitat for Humanity, and I would love to do that.
Keith,
Yes, Stacy.
one of the things that I've done is, if it's going to be a discounted rate, is to add a videographer. Every campus has some type of video recording capability, so you get reel and or a professional photographer.
Yep.
And so then you have those shots that you would have paid $250 for.
This is a great strategy if they have it, right? Some places don't have it, but if they have it, it is a great strategy. And as Stacy's mentioning, oftentimes for the campus, it's free, right? They already employ that person and it's already on staff. They just have them turn on the camera. Sometimes you'll get that video and think, this is trash. I will never be able to use this. The audio is incomprehensible. And that's fine. That's totally fine. Sometimes they'll get great headshots that you can put on your website or in your speaker reel. Sometimes you can just take this little snippet of the introduction because the person introducing you had the microphone attached to the system, but your microphone wasn't attached to the system. So yeah, if you can pull that off, that is great. So yeah, ask for that. Some people are a little cautious about getting recorded. I would encourage you to get everything recorded. If people want to record me, I just say absolutely, that would be great. And I put in my contract, you may only use it internally for 30 days. And then I also get a digital master copy to use however I would like to moving forward. And no one has ever fussed about that. Because internally, they'd all just put it on their Canva or whatever learning management system. Super easy. It's not public, right? It's not for everyone to see. It's not on their YouTube. They use it for 30 days, which is plenty of time for anyone who wants to watch a recording who couldn't make it that night. And then after that, it's totally fine. And then I get the video, and when I'm ready to do a new highlight reel, I just send it to my person and she edits that in and it's good to go. So that's a great suggestion. If you're discounting things or doing it for free, video, photographs, testimonials are great things to do in exchange. I think one of the things that I could definitely be better at is if Aaron Long brings me to campus and I'm doing a thing, to be like, hey, Aaron, will you just take a bunch of pictures? Because Aaron would be totally happy to do that. And usually at the end, I want a bunch of pictures, but I never said anything to Aaron, and I'm kicking myself for doing that. So just, your host, just say, will you just take a bunch of pictures? Get some of me, get some of the audience, get some of me talking with folks. That would be great. That's super helpful. Those are incredibly valuable assets when you do a web page, when you do a newsletter, when you're doing social media posts down the road. Thanks for jumping in and interrupting, Stacy. Chris, I saw you bounced out, you back in, now your hand's up. Yeah.
I'm all over the place. Any suggestions? So you do a couple of conference presentations, say on a particular topic, different topics. What's the best way to, after the fact, leverage that on social media? Rather than just, hey, I just did this presentation.
Yeah. I think it depends on the social media. I'm primarily using LinkedIn, and then I also post on Instagram. Instagram doesn't do much for me. But I might just do like a little cell phone and be like, hey, I just got done presenting on organizational belonging here at ACPA. It was a great group of folks. I'm so excited for them. One of the important questions I got was da 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 da. And I think that's really helpful because we have to remember the 3 keys are blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I gotta go. I gotta get to the rest of the conference. Hope to see you soon. And away we go.
Great.
Right. Or you could do that written version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you get a picture of you with 3 people from your former campus. And so great to meet people who are at Macalester College. I love my time there. So great to see them at blah, blah, blah conference. Anything you can do to move the absolute direct primary focus off you is great. And anything where you're in the photo is great. People click on it, they like it, they're interested. Chris, they want to see your face. So see if you're in it, if you're in it with other people, that's super cool. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yep. Let me jump back to our launch and then we can do some more conversation. Let's see, where do we leave off? Number 6. Yes, charge for what we're planning, but be flexible and just depend on how flexible you want to be. We get happy to talk more about pricing and all of that here in a little bit. Number 7, plan your public announcement. Benny's maybe a good example. Well, Benny offered this up. I was a good example. I think I've shared with you. I decided at the end of August that I was leaving my role at the end of May. That was the end of the cycle at Macalester College. I didn't tell anyone until February, other than my partner and key trusted friends. And so I knew that February was the time because I would be at ACP and NASPA in March, and I wanted everybody, when I saw them at the conference, to have known and heard about it and ask me about it. And hey, we'd love for you to come. So my timing of February was all about setting up NASPA and ACPA to leverage me and then move forward. It also gave plenty of time, so nobody felt like I was leaving them in the lurch. Plenty of time to search, plenty of time to plan and do all of that stuff. So plan your timing, plan your announcement, plan how you want to do it, and get ready to do that. Number 8, ask for testimonials. We've talked about that. Here's the key with asking for testimonials. 1 to 2 sentences, about the value that my workshop brought. Not about you, because a testimonial that says Dr. Stacy is awesome, feels good, and is not helpful to your business. After Dr. Stacy left, everything changed in our organization. Oh, okay. Now I'm interested, right? So 1 to 2 sentences about the value that you brought, right? So if I'm doing a curricular approach workshop, I don't want to hear Keith was awesome. What I want to hear was he saved us 2 years of work and no one cried, which is one of my favorite testimonials, right? The value. So 1 to 2 sentences of the value of the work. Now, if it's a good friend, if you crushed it, if they can't stop talking about how amazing for you are, then up the ante and ask for 30 seconds of video. Just 30 seconds of video. They can do it on their iPhone, they can record it on the computer, whatever. It doesn't have to be professional, just 30 seconds of someone saying, you're amazing. And again, talk about the value that I brought to your campus, your students, your organization, your staff retreat, right? Words are great. And then always ask, do you want it to be anonymous? Can I use your name? Can I just use your title generically? So can I say Tim Miller, Vice President of Student Affairs at James Madison University, which he has given me permission to do? Or do I just say Vice President for Student Affairs? Or do you just want me to say anonymous? Happy to do anything that you want. I find that about 1/3 of people say, use my name, use my picture, I'm pumped, I love it. And 1/3 would say, just use my title, and 1/3 get anxious about that and say, just keep it anonymous. And all of that's fine. All of that's fine. Number 9 is the strategy that Benny put into use. This is the most powerful strategy in this list, and it's not close. When you are ready to leave, Benny jumped the gun, did it a little bit soon, but it's clearly working for him. When you're ready to leave, so right after I made the announcement, I sent an email to probably 40 of my friends, not my colleagues, not people I'd met once or twice, not LinkedIn connections, not people who I barely know but are Facebook friends, friends of mine, people who've had dinner in my home, people who I've seen cry, friends of mine. And the email basically says, hey, I'm doing this super scary thing. I don't know if it's going to work. I'm really excited about it, and I'm really anxious about it. If that's true, and it probably is. I'm offering whatever it is you're offering. I'm offering 2 keynotes, blah, 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 and blah, 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 and a workshop series called blah, blah, blah. It would mean the world to me if you could find a way to hire me this year. I will not ask every year, but you can hire me this year. It would mean the world to me. It would really help my business, and I will never come back and bother you ever again. If there's any way you can find a way to do that, I'd love to talk with you about when and how we can make that happen. Thanks so much for your friendship and your support. Here we go, everybody. Some version of that, right? If you send that to 40 people, ignore what Benny said. If you send that to 40 people, you might get 7 or 8. Oh, that's awesome. I just don't have the budget. And you go, thank you. I love having your support. I'm so sorry, but maybe another year, maybe another time. How are you navigating these tough times, right? You probably get 20 to 30 no responses, and that's fine. People are busy. Don't make any meaning about that. That's one of the things you got to do in this game, is that when you reach out and people don't respond, don't create a story. Don't create a story, I'm annoying, they don't like me, they don't like what I do, they think I'm dumb. Like, that's just your BS. Don't create a story. Most of the time when I create that story, because I've emailed someone 5 times in a row and they've never responded, what I get a week later is, thanks for being so persistent. I'm so sorry I've been so rude to you. We'd love to bring you in the next 2 months. Like, people are just overwhelmed and busy. Just assume that's the story. And if they say, please stop emailing me. I don't like this approach that you're doing. Say, I'm so sorry. You'll never hear from me again. That's easy. No problem. Stacy, did I see you waving your hand about this email? No? Okay, great. Um, the last one is make your public announcement, right? Just make your announcement. However you've planned it, how you've done it, this is the execution. And this is all orchestrated and staged. The email to your staff, the blog post, the social media posts, the email you're sending out to people, have it all ready to go because it is going to be emotionally and mentally overwhelming. The people who are so sad you're leaving, the people who are jerks about it and snide comments is going to be overwhelming. I still remember being at ACPA in Tampa at the time I had made my announcement. And pretty much everyone said the same thing with two completely different meanings. Everyone said, good for you. The two meanings were, there was sort of this listful good for you, like, oh, good for you. I always thought about doing that. I just never pulled the trigger. Like, oh man, I wonder what life would be like. Oh, I hope it works out for you. And then there was like this envious, jealous, vengeful, like, oh, good for you, with all your privilege going off and which again had nothing to do with me. It was all about their stuff. But people are going to have their responses, and just know that's about them. That's about their thing, and just be in integrity and move forward with it. All right, so those are the 10 things. I just want to real quick share a little bit about my story, then we'll open it up for some questions and maybe get you into some small groups. But how I did this roughly is I already had a domain. I had a couple websites previously. I had moved to keithedwards.com maybe 3 or 4 years before I decided to make the leap. So I had that. I definitely updated my website. I didn't spend $5,000. I spent $500 with a friend of a friend who dramatically improved my website at the time. And it was so much better. In September, I had Erica take a bunch of photos. And she did great. And we just found an evening where the sun was shining and it was in that hour before sunset. And she took a bunch of photos. And I think I paid her like $75 or something. It was awesome. And those served me for many, many years. I had a blog. And when I knew I was leaving, I started writing consistently because when I made an announcement, I wanted people to go to my website and look at my blog and not find one post. I wanted them to find 20. Look at all the stuff he's talking about. So in the lead up, I started generating content and putting it out there on my blog. I now do a newsletter that is also my blog. So every Tuesday, I put a blog post and that is my newsletter content. I also do a video on YouTube now. I think those are good ideas for lots of reasons. I don't think you need to do all of that. Maybe you just do a newsletter. Maybe you just do a blog post. Maybe you do a video 2 or 3 years from now. Maybe you start there. I don't know. But what is kind of your pathway? I mentioned I kept my personal Facebook profile. I used it for business things, and then I really went away from that. Isn't it funny looking at Facebook memories and looking back about like 10 years ago when we shared everything on Facebook? And now I'm like, oh, cringe. What was I doing? And why didn't I spell check? Anyway, Facebook's just a different place now than it used to be. I had a professional Facebook page. I found that just not worth my time, so I got rid of it. I use LinkedIn. LinkedIn is changing. The algorithm changes all the time. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it. But I had 2 conversations yesterday with people who are pretty serious prospective clients who have never liked or commented on a LinkedIn post ever, who both referenced things that I had posted in the past week. Oh yeah, I saw that in LinkedIn. I thought that was really cool. Or I know that your newsletter this week was this because I saw on social media. So you just got to know that even if people aren't liking or commenting or engaging, they are seeing and they are noticing. I do use Instagram professionally. I talked about that. I do have a Twitter account. I don't post on it because I'm mad about Twitter and Elon and all the things. I don't call it that other name. But I have a list of 8 accounts that generate news and sports stuff that I love. So I keep going just for that. And I try really hard to ignore the rest of it. I tried Blue Sky and just got no traction whatsoever. But I haven't really made a run at Blue Sky in probably 6 months to a year, and so maybe I should try posting there again and see if it's changed. I don't know. Um, that's some of my social stuff, but pretty much I'm posting professionally on LinkedIn and Instagram. I submitted proposals. I think I submitted like 5 proposals to ACPA and NASPA. I just like, let's see what happens. I think NASPA, I got 1 thing accepted. ACPA, I think I got 4 things accepted. Again, don't take any of that personally. If you've ever been on a national conference program team, you know it's just a shit show. What gets accepted and what doesn't is not really merit based. It is based on a whole bunch of other things. I sent an email to the people who had worked for pay and not for pay. I asked for probably 30 people for testimonials. Hey, I remember doing this thing for you a year and a half ago. I'm launching. Could you give me 1 to 2 sentences about the value that it brought to your organization? And again, more than half never responded. Some responded and their testimonials were not great, so I never used them. And if you get 5 or 6 awesome testimonials, that's absolute solid gold. It's just social proofing for your website, for your socials, for your PDF that you send out, for all those things. I did send that email in February. I think I got maybe 5 gigs out of it, but not as quickly as Benny did. I got a lot of people who ignored me. And then when I saw them at conferences, were like, I'm so excited for what you're doing. If I can be supportive in any way, they just don't respond to email, right? So again, just don't take that personally. And then I planned my graduation announcement. That's how I framed it. I said I was too young to retire. So my graduation announcement, and it was really this blog post that I just put in the chat. You can see me talking about my graduation from Macalester College, how I framed it, how I talked about it, the way I messaged that along the way. Let's see what folks are curious about. Maybe you're generating your own number 11 and 12 and 13 on that list. Maybe you want to go back to how you ask for these things around pricing. Maybe you have questions about any of this. I think some Q&A would really be the best way to generate more helpful content for folks. Kate, go ahead, lead us off.
Yeah, thanks. Because I'm, wanting to start this as a side hustle, I'm wondering if you have any advice for how to frame it when you want to, maintain what you currently have going, but then add this as a side gig.
Yeah. Well, I love this question because Hillary sent me the exact same thing in a private message. So if you're not leaving your full-time gig, I think you do a very similar thing. You just love on your institution more than is reasonable, right? So for you, say, I'm so excited to be launching this new venture, but just to be clear, I am not leaving and I have no plans to leave St. Ben's and St. John's. I love it here. But I also have a passion for blah, 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 and da, 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 da. And so I'm going to be excited to do this. But you just be super explicit about that you're not leaving, that you're deeply committed. And then I think the other thing you have to do is you have to behave professionally on campus in a way that leaves no room for anyone to question your commitment, right? No room for that. Because some people on your campus will be super pumped that you're doing this and will refer you and recommend you and do all of that. And others will be like, that's gross. Okay. Good luck with that. I'm doing this thing because I want a new deck this summer. Or I'm doing this thing because I have this passion and I want to engage more people than just my own campus. So yeah, it's the exact same thing, but you just build, rather than graduation, I would have put a blog post about launching, I don't know what it would have been, but I'm not leaving Macalester College. I love the students here. I love my colleagues. In fact, over the next 3 to 4 years, I hope to see blah, blah, blah. So just do that in a very certain kind of way. I just want to check in with Hillary since you had some. Hillary, any comments or anything more you want to ask about that?
No, thank you. That's helpful. Just, I think maybe, this might be something offline at a different time, but for those of us who are in the different, I'm not leaving full time, but I'm not like 100% going out on my own to do this work. But at the same time, I'm still open to other career possibilities,
Mm.
but I'm going to do my job here to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
How do you kind of dance along that line? Like here, I just got promoted to our senior leadership team
Yeah.
yesterday, but
Congrats.
well, thank you. But many of you know I love my work, I love my people, but Seattle's not right
Yeah.
for me, right? Like
Yeah.
the the city, the other things. And then I want to be doing some things outside of housing. And so, but I'm not leaving full time. So like what is the how do I word that it's not insincere?
Yeah. Again, I just want to be clear. Hillary's sharing that with us because she trusts us. Let's not share that more broadly. Let's just be clear about that. Uh,
Bless.
I
Thank you.
would, yeah, I would do just what I recommended to Kate. I would talk about, in your case, maybe, hey, I'm so excited to be launching this new website. This is a thing, kind of my side hustle. These are my passion projects. I'm so excited. And if folks think there's a good fit, please reach out to me. But just to be clear, Seattle University is amazing, and I love the work I get to do here. In fact, I just got promoted to the senior leadership team, and I'm so excited for these future contributions. And even though you might want to leave and you might want another thing, I would not even reference or mention any of that. That's a conversation for Hillary and I to have, for you to have with other people, for you to reach out to those friends and the network and do that. I think it's fine to sort of add publicly, I'm keeping this job and doing that because honestly, they're continuing to pay you. You deserve they deserve for you to continue to keep your focus and do your work and not be distracted and not have one foot in the door and out the door. Now, some of you are in situations where they haven't earned that right, and I trust that you will make those decisions appropriately on your own. But yeah, I would just side hustle, fine. Love my institution. If you want to leave your institution, I would keep that to some private conversations for some people who can help advocate for you. No. Francie.
Yeah, so the whole question of domain with my name versus promoting a company name. I have both.
Mm-hmm.
But what I see with people who have companies is they say we
Mm.
at this company we da da da. So it makes it
Mhm.
sound kind of maybe bigger than it is or like more resourced or something. And there's something to that. Um, I'm even deciding if I'm doing the I in my company name, but
Mhm.
the company name I picked was not my name. So I just love to hear talk a little bit more about that
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah, I'm a real big advocate for your name. Um, because that will always be your thing. As your focus changes, as your path changes, as your audience, you might move from higher ed to healthcare. Um, I know one person who's very well known in student affairs who left to do this own thing. And he had a high school friend who was in the biotech industry in California who brought him in to do a leadership thing. And now that's pretty much all he does. All he does is leadership training in the biotech. He never saw that coming. Some of the times these things emerge. So if you have your name, I think that's really great. Um, Maybe I'm a good example because I have keithedwards.com and I do my own thing. I also work with Brian and I also work with Brian and Dawn around Evolve, so I get to do some we things. I also do the podcast, which is a we thing. But the way I see it is, um, and we'll get into this in our next one, I do have a company. It's called Keith Edwards Speaking. And the only people who would ever know that are people who would look at my W-9 and see my EIN and my official company name. No one outside of payment would have any clue because nobody knows that. And I just wanted something in my name, some because you're going to want a different entity, right? So I would have Francie McGee Consulting or something or whatever that no one would see, would be no logo, no none of that. But then Keith, and the way I do it, if you saw my notes and my internal documents, um, KEE, which are my initials, is my shorthand for my company, right? So I have a journal for Keith and I have a journal for KEE. And the KE is just all my work ideas, my concepts, my ideas, my planning, all of that stuff. And that's kind of a cheat code that I just use for me. So KEE is the business, Keith is the me. Um, but the business, one of the things that KeithEdwards.com does is the Evolve Institute with Brian and Don. And one of the things that KeithEdwards.com does is he does Student Affairs Now podcast with these folks. And one of the things he does is curricular approaches. And one of the things he does is individual leadership coaching. Now, I definitely have a problem where I'm maybe going in more directions than I would recommend. But I would really encourage to keep Francie McGee, because people who see cool stuff that you do, that's what you want them to remember. And what's your company name?
Cardinal Shift is the name of the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love it. Just like I love Vernon's One Better World.
Mhm.
But which one do you want me to remember? Which one do you want me to attach this cool newsletter that you did on whatever? Do I attach that in my brain to Cardinal Shift? Do I attach that to that? Now, if it's a collective, if you're going to work with 6 other people, then maybe you want to give that a name, right? So like Evolve Institute is a thing that I do with Brian and Dawn, right? So we've given that a name. But we think about that as we are 3 independent entities, and this is a thing that we collaborate on. We don't think of this as that we're in business together. We think we are 3 independent coaches, then we work together and collaborate on that. That's the same way we think about the podcast. We language is awesome. So
What? Sorry.
we language. If you can shift pronouns from I and me to
Yep.
we, and a lot of times you can talk about that with your clients. We were just working on this curricular approach with UC Irvine, and wow, what they were doing and what I learned from them. And we had great conversations about this and, that kind of thing, rather than I was at Irvine, I taught them about this, I helped them do that. Ugh, right? One is just much more interesting. So I love that pronoun conversation you were talking about.
Thank you.
Just reading some folks in the chat. I would love to get some other folks in here with questions or things you want to kind of double click on and expand on any of the things that are up there. Megan, I saw your note. Do you want to come off mute and share your little elevator pitch and ask your question?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Megan, and I work with teams in education to improve the education environment for all students. And I'm struggling a little bit with the launch in terms of, I think it's easier if you're a keynote speaker. I'm offering these 3 speeches. I'm doing this workshop series, but part of my role is kind of ideating with teams and kind of coming together and figuring out solution.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of struggling a little bit. Like even if you're a coach, right?
Yep.
How you would launch that. In my
Yeah.
case, I'm not a coach. I'm working with teams. So how do I launch that? Like I'm struggling a little bit.
Yep. And I think it's exactly where you should be thinking. Matt Church, who runs the Thought Leaders program, which is the business development program I'm in. And if any of you get serious, I would highly recommend it, but it's a lot more money. He says you got to be easy to buy. And Megan, right now, your elevator pitch, hard to buy. Okay, you
Okay.
help educational teams with the environment for all students. I love it. I don't know what to buy.
Okay.
So you got to tell me what to buy. So it might be something like, hi, I'm Megan. I help teams in education improve the educational environment for all students. I offer a 3-session workshop series where I help teams ideate and then execute how to do that. Oh, now I know what to buy. 3 workshops. And then I might go, I don't have 3. Could you just do 1? And you go, sure, we could start there. I love this. I don't have a workshop or a team, but I'm co-chairing a regional conference. Would you be willing to do a 50-minute session? Sure. But if you don't give them a thing that they can buy, they don't have a place to begin the conversation. Chris might say, I consult with folks around continuous quality improvement. Okay, so I buy consulting. Well, nobody really knows what that is. It would be better to say, I work with higher ed organizations in 3-month intervals around helping improve the quality of what they're offering. It includes a series of coaching, workshops, and ongoing sessions. And
Love
you're not
that.
saying this is the only thing that I'll do, but you're just giving your audience like something to hang on to and be like, oh, okay, I don't want that, but I kind of want something near that. Then they're having a conversation with you. But if you just say, I do this without giving me something to buy, then I don't say, hey, can we talk? I just go, that's awesome. Good for Megan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yeah, yeah. We got just a bit of time before we need to start moving to wrapping up. Anyone else, anything that we could sort of unpack just a little bit just to be helpful for you as you're thinking about your launch? Dr. Stacy.
So I'm gonna do my thing.
Yeah,
Too.
do it.
Hi, I'm Dr. Stacy. I'm a therapist. Excuse me. Hi, I'm Dr. Stacy. I'm a speaker, therapist, and coach that works to disrupt the impact of racism both systemically and individually through keynotes, workshops, and healing circles.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's got all the things. The therapist is not what you're selling, but it gives you credibility for the things that you're selling. Yeah, therapist. Ooh, okay, she's serious. Okay, great. The things that the content part, I won't get the words right, but racial healing and justice. And then you gave me exactly what you're doing. I think, and this would be a thing to kind of wordsmith. You've got part A, part B, and part C, and they're awesome. Could you say it in fewer words and be more specific?
Okay.
Just to think a little bit less and a little bit more concrete. I know that each one of those words really matter to you. Go ahead.
Not that much. I want something that's going to work. Yeah. So I think I'm looking at a relaunch, if you will. And so with the initial launch being about 10 years ago, and now moving to something a little bit more intense, if you will. What do I do? I feel like I put good content out there, or I'm doing this, and people say congratulations. I'm like, congratulations? Like, that's nice, but be a customer. And so, I mean, I love what happened to Ben. I almost fell out of my chair. But I feel like I'm having trouble converting people.
Yeah.
From a fan to me being a service provider for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a terrible numbers game that we're in. It's a terrible numbers game. So you gotta get no's, and you gotta get comfortable with no's and no responses. And it's like 100 people you reach out to, 60 to 70 no responses, 10 no's, 10 like, thanks, Stacey, I love it. Good for you. And then like 5 buys. But what you're selling is expensive. So that can work. So it's a terrible numbers game. So don't just spend no time worrying about all the people who didn't respond or didn't do that. I think though, if you're putting, and I think rebrand is great for you. I've seen some of the stuff you've been putting out. Great photos, great graphics. It looks like a higher quality version, right? Than what I saw from you 10 years ago, which makes sense because we just have better tools and better photos and better things, right? So I think people are as someone who watches, Stacy, I'd be interested in what is new about this version. I'm no longer doing this. I'm doing this. I'm really focused on less on this and more on this. As a real person, I'm really curious about where your focus is now, right? And most people would be interested like on a yearly basis and where your focus is now. Kate, maybe you were focused on student learning assessment, and now I'm really focused on equity-centered assessment. Okay, cool. That's different. That's new. Now you might say, I've been talking about equity-centered assessment for 10 years. Why would anybody care? Here's the thing. No one's paying attention. No one is reading every one of your LinkedIn posts. Not even your mom. Okay? No one is paying attention. So put it out there again, put it in your newsletter, put it over here, put it out there. I believe, and I have some evidence to support this, that if you get my weekly newsletter, you maybe read 1 in 4. Right? Because the other 3, you're busy, or it's not a topic for you, or you're just overwhelmed and you can't deal with it. So I think people are maybe reading 1 in 4 of my newsletters. So A very specific strategy, Stacy, that I would say is um, if you post on LinkedIn, I'm doing this cool thing, and someone says, congratulations, I would, one, is there a way I can respond to that that's generative? Because the way LinkedIn works, and I just did this today, I put a post out and someone said, um, it was a short snippet of a longer video. So I put the short snippet on LinkedIn. Someone who I kind of barely know said, this is great. You've really got me thinking, and I like that. So then I responded and said, awesome. Love to hear your thoughts. Here's a link to the full video. Because if you put something on LinkedIn and then you drop the full video, it limits that. It downgrades your post. But if you share the full video in response to someone's comment, LinkedIn thinks he wanted the full video, which wasn't actually what he was asking for. But I gave it to him and it made sense and it looked good. I think you could also then direct message all those people, right? So you post something on Instagram. I don't know you want to do this with every like, but someone says, oh, I just love this. Direct message. Thanks so much for your support. Have you ever thought about pulling together a circle for people in Chicago? I would love to help you with that. Would you like to set up a time? So I would try and move any comment, engagement, active support into a direct message conversation. Thank you. I just, I love your support, Stacy. You've always been so good to me. Is there any way this might work for Susquehanna? Love to talk with you about that. Right? So don't just be like, oh, bummer. You just said congratulations. See, I wish you would have started a conversation. Use that as an excuse to start a conversation. And it's great if you can be like, hey, thanks so much for your support. If you want to know more, here's the PDF I have. It's 4 pages, but I'm just sharing that with you directly. Love to set up a call with you in February. Yeah. Well, we've got to move to wrapping up. Things are just flying by. Thanks so much, especially to all of you for being here, but especially to folks who came off mute, asked questions, shared your successes, shared your pitches, and things like that. A couple things as a reminder. Our next session is going to be on the 23rd. So 2 weeks from now, same time, has its own Zoom link. You should all have that in your calendar invite. If you don't, just send me an email. Happy to send that to you. That will be about how to run your business. So it's going to be about EINs, LLCs, taxes, accountants, software, all of that stuff, how to do that. Some of that I'll have very specific recommendations. Some of that I'll just kind of talk about the options and you'll have to sort of think through that. Your homework is plan your launch. Don't launch, but plan your launch. Use the 10 things that I've shared. Use the notes that you've just taken. Use what you heard from other folks and plan a launch. Maybe it's chronological. I'm going to announce in February, which this means I got to get my photos taken. I don't want to do it now because it's winter, so I'll get my photos taken in late April and I'll do this. Like just kind of plan out what you want to do. You don't have to do everything on this list. Wouldn't make sense for any of you to do everything on this list. But what on this list does make sense to you? How do you want to do it? How are you going to execute it? There might be more things that are not on this list that you've thought of. So just your homework is to plan your launch. I think if you had a 1-pager that outlined the steps that you're going to take and how you're going to take them, it would be really helpful. Then you don't have to do all of it right now. You can just do step 1, which is buy the website. Send an email to your friend who does pictures and do that. Get that scheduled. Find a time. Find a place. Right? And then the other thing is if you're interested in the runway and coaching in the next step, you can sign up for that. You can think about that. You can send me an email with any questions about that. I know some of you are already committed to that, so it's going to be a great group of folks. And some of you may not, but happy to do that. Any final words of wisdom or inspiration? Who can I call on? Let's see. Benny, do you have some final words of wisdom or inspiration for us?
Yes. Something that I really like to focus on is, and something we say is we always focus on the relationships around us and how sacred they are. So, Gagakui, which means all my relations. And it's what we say whenever we sign off on things or we're leaving a ceremony to reflect on the people who came before us and the people to come.
Mm-hmm.
So all my relations.
Yeah. Perfect. Just perfect. For the people who are here, for the people who you sent that email to, for the people who you haven't met yet, one of the best things about this is all the people you're going to meet and get to know over the time. All the people who've brought me to campus over the years, who then you chat about kids and then they become Facebook friends and then you're meeting up at conferences and then next thing you know, you're going on vacation together. It's super cool. And the relationship building is the best part of it. So awesome. Thanks, everybody. Let's put a pause on it here. You've got the link. We'll get the recording out and other things coming up. We'll see you in 2 weeks. And if anybody wants to connect between then, drop me an email. We'll see everybody soon. Bye, all.